Testing audio, testing audio, testing audio on stream. Testing audio again for the stream. Testing audio for the stream. Testing audio for the stream again. Testing audio for the stream. Doing another test. Checking stream audio. Checking for feedback on the stream. Checking hearing loop output.
That was a bit aggressive. This is our audio check. Audio check. So everything sounds good in the room. I'll wait to get the stream up and we'll get underway. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We're now on item 5A1, which is the District of Squamish Quarterly Key Projects Update. I will turn it over to staff to run us through a presentation.
I am joined here today by a number of district staff to provide updates on key projects for the first quarter of this year. This afternoon, we have with us, in order of presentation, Neil Plum, Director of Real Estate Services, will present an update on the Adventure Centre revitalisation. David Ralston, behind me, Senior Manager of Infrastructure Planning, will present an update on the Chikai Barrier construction and the Hanake Park Sea Dyke construction. Sarah Bailey, Director of Engineering, previously Acting Director of Facilities Planning Construction, and Harmony Cornwell, our new Director of Facilities, will present an update on the Brennan Park Recreation Centre upgrade, the Public Works Facility construction, and the Splash Park construction. And we also have Sarah McJanet, the Manager of Community Planning here, who is in the audit and will join us for an update on the Valley Cliff Childcare Facility construction. Previously, Council received a similar update for projects only associated with the Real Estate Facilities Master Plan. This new format of reporting allows us to update Mayor, Council and the public on projects that fall both inside and outside of the facilities portfolio. Okay, so the objective today is to provide an update on a number of key projects, providing information on project timelines, including any changes since the prior update period, which was Q4 of 2024, project budget update, project activities for the period January 1, 2025 to March 31, 2025, and any project issues and related impacts. For the purpose of this update, we are defining key projects as those that have a value of greater than $25 million or are of high community interest, and are otherwise not appearing on Council agenda as a separate item in the future. I will now hand it over to Mr. Plum to provide the first key project update on the Adventure Centre revitalisation. We do have a number of presenters this afternoon, so we will pause after each presenter to allow for questions on their items. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Neil Plum, Director of Real Estate. Thanks for the opportunity to update you on this project at the Adventure Centre. So phase one of this project has focused on the interior of the space and is almost complete. You may be aware, if you've been in the building, that the gift shop's been relocated, the offices have been relocated, and that was to create more potential rentable areas in that building and usable areas in that building in the future. That work has been done, as well as upgrades to the theater space. And the remaining piece is the Squamish story interpretive exhibit. There's a sort of an artist rendering on the top there of that. It's very brief looking, I can appreciate. But that work is in process. The materials for those exhibits are in production mode, and that will be up, installed this summer. And then phase two is for the exterior of the building, and that includes a proposed new interpretive trail, playground, and additional access from the patio on the outside of the building down to the proposed walkway interpretive trail. We're in the process of just taking a closer look at options to improve accessibility, specifically around the patio area and the trail, and we're working on design options on that right now. and working through that. And our goal to complete this phase of the project is later this summer, early fall. So with that, I'll turn it back to.
Council, any questions on this project? Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Mr. Plum, I wonder if you can elaborate on the precise location or alignment of this trail. There's trails going in each direction from the general Adventure Center site, but where is this particular trail that's under discussion here?
Through the chair, I'm glad we picked the graphic we picked. So although it's still in design phase, the lower graphic image shows the building is sort of the circular areas in white, and then you can see there's a sort of a brown, light brown path going through there. So this trail is going to go along the front of the building and create an experience going through that area into the, and there's gonna be landscaping and rocks and a variety of features set up there to create an experience there. And we'll connect ultimately with the front of the building and the patio and go all the way around to the other side of the building where the parking lot is.
Thank you.
Oh, your microphone there, Councillor.
Excuse me. I probably raised this before, and we're not finding a place for this initiative in our current budget, but I'll just pose it. You can't see the Adventure Center from the intersection anymore due to the growth of the vegetation in Rose Park. Over the past 20 years, it's changed dramatically. And so for the visibility and marketability, if you like, of the Adventure Center, it certainly would be desirable to do some tree trimming on Loggers Lane, also for safety reasons. Mr. Plum, do you see any possibility to incorporate that within this particular initiative, or has it been highlighted in any work plan? Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm not aware of any of the work plan. It's not something that has been identified in this project, but it's something that staff can take away and look into. Thanks.
Any other questions on this one? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, sorry, I may have missed it, and I understand the sort of water feature or previous water feature around the Adventure Center is not fully operational. Is the trail meant to be a replacement of that, or it sort of runs outside of that?
Through the chair, I believe it will be adjacent to that, and it will incorporate parts of it in there. But so it's in that vicinity, but it's not entirely replacing that entire zone. That's my understanding.
So is there, and I just always like the water feature. I understand there's all kinds of challenges, but does that mean we are sort of saying goodbye permanently with this trail, or it is literally around the outside, and theoretically, if the district wins the lottery or something, we might.
So, I mean, it would depend on what parts of the water feature you're referring to. If you're referring to the waterfall in the building, I believe the pump that feeds that waterfall has been removed from the building. It was very expensive to operate and maintain. So that part is no longer available. Unfortunately, our parks planner, Elaine Naseby, is not here today. She has a lot better understanding of the nuances of where exactly this is all going and working into it. But I understand there's several landscape architects on staff with the team that's doing the project that have been looking closely at this. So I want to believe they're going to find a way to maintain sort of the element of that and going forward.
Okay, any other questions on this project? Okay, thank you very much for the update.
So giving a brief update on the Chikai Barrier project that's being constructed as part of the Chikai River development. Construction started in July 2024 and is now about 35% complete. Some of the main aspects of work that have been established and completed are blasting for the slot that runs down the center of the barrier, and placement of structural concrete for about half the height of the barrier through that opening. That's shown in the top picture there. Placement of the roller compacted concrete, which forms the majority of the structure, is just beginning now. So that's quite exciting. The project is about 35% complete. Substantial performance for the barrier is expected for April 2026 and final completion in July of 2026. Later this year, staff will be presenting to council on operations and maintenance funding and a local area service tax that is intended to fund a portion of the operations and maintenance costs for the barrier. And staff, which includes engineering and public works, are preparing to take ownership of the structure in about a year. So there's a lot of work that's ongoing at present, and I'll pause there for any questions.
Thank you. Questions on this project? I have a curiosity. Thank you for the update and the attachment. So attachment 1 shows that vertical wall start as late, but everything behind it on track. And I just wondered if you could speak to how, if this schedule feels like it's holding, or how often when one piece gets held up, there's that ripple effect. Just is there a risk of this of delay here, or is this really something that is just sort of a blip that the time will be clawed back elsewhere?
Through the mayor, yeah, I believe there's opportunities for compressing certain elements of the schedule in order to make up for a possible lost time, or there's an ability to complete work concurrently that maybe hadn't been accounted for in some of the scheduling. So there's at this point, there's no identified risk of tracking behind schedule. Everything appears to be going according to plan.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this piece? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the list.
Right. So the next item is the Hunnic Park Sea Dike. This project incorporates a 200-meter long section of sea dike along Hunnic Park to extend our coastal flood protection from the Sirocco development. So this incorporates a sheet pile dike along the high water mark of the shoreline. It incorporates extensive habitat benches in front of the sheet pile wall, and also incorporates pedestrian and cycling walkways, landscaping, lighting along the dike top, as well as road end improvements at Main Street. So, and also a water access ramp and dock, as shown in the image here. So quite an exciting project. After several years of permitting, we have finally received all of our permits. So it's quite exciting. We have closed an RFP, and we're in the process of finalizing a construction contract with the preferred supplier. And we expect to begin construction in the fish window this summer, in Waterworks in the fish window. It's possible that preparations could begin before that, and expecting construction completion in spring of 2026. So with that, I'll hand it over for any questions.
Thank you. Questions on this one? Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, thanks very much for the update on this. The budget for this was set at 18 million, I believe we have currently set in our financial plan. And this is, in my understanding of project completion, this is the moments where we start to understand whether that budget allocation is still relevant, still correct. Could you give a sense at this point of whether you expect that budget to still be sufficient to complete the project?
Through the mayor, we do. I can't advise currently on specifics because the contract is still being finalized. However, we do anticipate being able to deliver the full scope of the project within budget.
And at this point, and the other thing are delays. At this point, what are the biggest risk factors for delay in this particular project?
Through the mayor, good question. I think there are various possible delays, including environmental. I know that there were some challenges with in-water works for other recent projects, including having marine mammals in close proximity to construction, which caused some delays. We have prepared mitigation plans for that, and also worked with DFO to incorporate appropriate conditions for construction. So there's also possibility of long lead times on various supplies, but I don't anticipate significant risk to construction scheduling at this point.
And is there anything that council could do at this point or in the near future to help the process mitigate those potential delays, to protect against them?
Through the mayor, at this stage, I would say no. I think everything is on track. If there's anything that comes up that seems like there could that council could help, staff can come back and report on that.
Thank you. Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can, I guess, correct or refresh my memory, which is that after Sirocco, we tested sheet pile with bollards in front, and then DFO sort of decided that wasn't a workable thing going forward. And so I'd understood that we just couldn't do sheet pile along the dike anymore. It seems we have here, but with shelving. And so is this sort of a new trial, or we were sort of already along the sheet pile route by the time this part was approved? Or can you just, like, is sheet pile a sort of a viable solution going forward, or?
Through the mayor, I expect that sheet pile or other vertical forms of diking are viable. However, we should expect that more significant habitat compensation requirements will need to be incorporated into those projects, and that leads to the fairly significant habitat benching that we're constructing in front of the sheet pile wall. So that's entirely for habitat compensation purposes. There are design elements that can be taken into account to soften the edge, and that's exactly what that is. So I think vertical diking is still likely to be incorporated both on district owned but also privately owned parcels in the future, just with appropriate design measures.
Thank you. Does the timing of the Sea and Sky bridge delivery, is that a factor here with this, or do you feel that that project that it isn't ours, but we'll need to coordinate in space, will be completed by the time this work needs to commence, or is that one of the factors here?
Through the mayor, there has been coordination and discussions, and at this stage, it's not identified as a risk to the Henanaic Park schedule.
Thank you. And in the table from funding source, it says 1.3 million from CAC surplus. I just wondered what that is. That a CAC contribution? What is that?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor. It's just CAC, the CAC reserve.
Okay, thank you. We're always on the hunt for surpluses, as we know. So I was like, so thank you for that. Any other questions on this piece? Yeah, go ahead.
If possible, what type of contract is this? I know we've heard a lot about IPD, construction management, different styles of contract. What type of contract is this, if that is open and available information?
This is a traditional design bid build. There was an RFP process, and I believe we're using a CCDC type of contract for construction.
Just remind me what CDC, the acronym there.
Canadian Construction Document, I believe. I might be wrong on that exact acronym.
There are people nodding behind you, okay, so you're good. You're good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this topic before we move on to the next project? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Stoner.
Not a question, but can we celebrate Mr. Rolston now that we have all the permits in place, because it's been 4 years in the making, I think? Congratulations. Thank you for all your persistent work.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Harmony Cornwell. I'm a Director of Facilities.
And I'm Sarah Bailey, Director of Engineering, here to support.
Thank you. So we're going to start with the Brennan Park Recreation Center upgrade update. This is scheduled for completion in Q1 of 2026. The design work for the ice rink change rooms, the ice rink roof insulation, and the new customer service mechanical rooms have been completed. And the design work for the lobby areas and the mezzanine area are approximately 90% complete. Phase 1, which included the ice rink change rooms and the ice rink installation, has been completed. Phase 2, which includes the customer service expansion and mechanic exchange room, is currently under construction. And Phase 3 for the arena main lobbies has yet to commence. Pause for questions.
We'll just keep going and I'll wait. I'll keep surfing for hands, but you continue.
Great. And then the next update is on our Public Works facility. We're still scheduled for completion in Q2 of 2026. We still have preloading on the site for the ramp and office areas, and that process is nearing completion. And we do have formwork underway in multiple areas of the site, which you can see in the slide image. There are no impacts or concerns at this stage.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
Q2 2026 is a new deadline. The previous one was Q1 2026. Has there been a shift in the timeline?
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. No, the substantial performance date hasn't changed since the contract was signed in November of 2024. That date is not shifted.
I believe the staff report from 2 weeks ago said April 2026. Back in, just barely, I guess. And now it says, and now we're June. I believe the staff report, the word June kicks into my mind here. Okay, anyways, so there are no delays from November 2025.
Through the mayor, yeah, the substantial performance date has not been extended since the contract was signed with Kinetic Construction. I believe substantial is March 31st, 2026. There's some element of work that happens after substantial. I believe handover will be April 2026.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Other questions while we're paused? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just jump back to the Brennan Park briefly?
Sure.
So in the issues and impacts, it says continued unexpected site conditions due to the age of the building and multiple upgrades over the years. Have we, or are we, or would we sort of pause for a moment knowing the work we have ahead and do some investigation? Or is it, are we sort of, and is it better to just proceed and take these as they come, these things?
Through the mayor, thank you for the question, and it is a good call out. When we are entering phase 3, we are going to have learned from phase 1 and 2 and are going to be proactively looking for those items. Being a building of this age, we're still going to come across things that we cannot foresee and will not be able to foresee in an occupied area until we have that phasing completely hoarded off for construction, until we start to open up walls and see what's underneath.
Okay, any other questions? No, okay, we'll proceed.
Thank you. We'll provide a brief update on the Splash Park construction. This project has currently been delayed to 2027. As the field house is intended to house the mechanical equipment for the Splash Park, these projects must proceed together. The next step in the design process is to procure a team of consulting engineers and an architect to move the projects forward concurrently. Unknowns currently include the required servicing to support both projects, including potential electrical upgrades. like to pause for any questions on this one.
Thank you. On this one, the project delayed to 2027, are we talking about the start of construction in 2027? We're talking about it coming online at that time. Just what do we mean by that, that number there?
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. The bulk of the budget has been moved to 2027. So ideally the capital spend happens in 2027 and it opens sometime that year. Won't have dates finalized until construction contracts are out.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we understood what that date was or wasn't. So that could mean it's not a huge stretch to say like operational 2028 summer. This is a summer thing. So I'm just adding that commentary unless you want to add anything
further to add.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Pennington.
Just on this, and this has been sort of something I think we had seen some of us from last term as a quick win, hasn't panned out that way. Is there, just trying to understand sort of some of the obstacles, and I understand the field house integration, but if council said like, this is all hands on, this is our number one priority, is there a way, and I'm not advocating for this at this point, but where that's possible, are there just fundamental things like, why is it a 2027 as opposed to, yeah, we just throw a few more bodies at it and it could be 2026?
Through the mayor, thank you very much for the question. Why we moved to 2027 was to allow for sufficient design period. There's also the potential that that electrical service upgrade will be required. So there's money in the budget for that to occur in 2026 before the splash park can be commissioned. We'll know more once we get consultants on board. As far as process, we need to get consultants on board, start design, understand the needs, put in for permits, have that work completed, and then actually move to the mechanical components of the splash park and the field house. As far as staff capacity and all hands on deck, with our new director of facilities here and project manager coming on board next week, this is a top priority project for the facilities team to be progressing and getting that design moving. So there is just a process that has to take place, but this is a priority project for staff currently.
Okay. Any other questions on this before we move on? Okay. Back over to you.
Thank you. The last project we're providing an update on today is the Valley Cliff Childcare Facility. And joining me at the table here is...
Hi, Sarah McJanet, Manager of Community Planning.
Thank you, Sarah. The current status is completion and licensing is scheduled for summer 2025, coming up rather soon. The base building completion is scheduled for April 2025, and that actually has been completed. Remaining work is landscape, which is currently scheduled to proceed in the near future. There was a delay to the hydro design, but hydro is now installed on site as of a couple weeks ago. There's final building commissioning and occupancy expected for end of June 2025. The outdoor play area installation is scheduled as well for May and June for the childcare fit out and licensing. Are there any questions?
Excellent news on this one as it's close to being operational here. Any questions at this point, council? Seeing none on this item. Was this the final piece? So council, anything on reflection on the sort of the totality that we want to dig into, or questions? We are moving towards, this is just for information, so we're looking to move receipt is what we're trying to get to. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Herford. I wonder if I might pose the question perhaps to Ms. McJanet. The Valley Cliff Child Care Facility construction has been a project which we have been engaged closely with school on the opportunity for future collaboration with School District 48. Have they been a part of the learning process of this project that might help us or facilitate future collaboration at other sites. It seems to be an important opportunity to satisfy our childcare needs. This collaboration with the school district for these sites. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. In terms of some higher level reflections, certainly around collaboration with the school district, that will continue. The school district is very focused now with their increased mandate for childcare, for school-age childcare. So we continue to collaborate around overall projected need for childcare in the community and doing that long-range planning with the school district as they look to incorporate additional school-age care on their school sites. And then in addition to that, we have been engaged in learning for many, many years with the school district, both through their on-site construction for school classrooms and portables on their sites, for instance, and then just ongoing learnings through the construction climate that we are all experiencing. And the school district is doing long-range capital planning, and they're dealing with school projection work as well. So that collaboration continues around our longer range population growth as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions overall? Is that your hand? Is that a hand, Councillor Stoner? Okay, I'm going to move receipt of the report if there's a seconder. Second by Councillor Stoner. Just thank you for all the work on this. I know that everything from the complexities here, everything from waiting for permitting approvals from the same order of government that gave you the funds to do the project, driving cost escalations of said same project, Honiak Park, and to renovating existing buildings. There's nothing here that we do in this room that's simple. And so thank you for all of your work on this and for keeping us abreast with the developments as we go. So I'm looking forward to having all of these facilities online and serving the community as the earliest opportunity. Any other comments on this? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just thanks to staff for the update. These are really, really useful. I know that there was a little bit of delay with some staff turnover, but I do appreciate the definition of key projects and the way that this is coming forward. And it's just helpful for us in the community to have these updates. So thank you for the work that went into it.
Okay, seeing no other hands, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Councillor Stoner.
And with that, I do have an additional motion that I would like to put on the floor for my council colleagues to consider. And I can email this to you as well. And that would be that council directs staff to bring back a discussion to a future committee of the whole on lessons learned in the delivery of district-led key projects prior to the 2026 budget deliberations with respect to planning and implementation of projects on time, in budget, and in scope. And if it's seconded, I'll speak to it.
Seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair to my council colleagues and to staff. I'm putting this motion forward because I think we're at a point now where we have delivered on two really big projects. We are near completion on another set of projects. We have seen some staff turnover, and I think that there's been a number of lessons learned as we embark on these like big infrastructure projects. And we know that there's many more ahead of us. And so I think it would do us all well to kind of just stop and reflect and capture some of the lessons that we've learned on what has worked, where the challenges have been, and where we might start to review our internal processes a little bit to try and expedite some of these projects, if at all. The province just put forward Bill 15, which is the Infrastructure Act, to try and do something similar on their end to see where they can streamline processes, both for projects that they identify as priorities, but also that communities might identify as priorities. And might be getting held up in provincial permitting processes. So there's an opportunity to ask the province to expedite projects going forward if need be, if they are identified as a shared community priority. So I think that there's just some opportunities here for us to do some reflection. And I think that it would be helpful for myself. I hope it would be helpful for my council colleagues and for the community to know that we're doing that kind of reflection piece before we embark on some more major projects that are in their 10-year financial plan.
Thank you. Other comments on this? Go ahead, Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, happy to support this. I would sort of assume this is something we're doing internally anyways. I think it would be useful for council to have some visibility into this. And I think, we've learned about new construction approaches and how those contracts can work. And it has seemed that there's been different, at the end of the day, contingency levels and so on. And so some of that, the why and the how isn't clear. And so having a bit of a review and what we've learned about, should there be different contingency levels for these different contracts and which contract methodologies aren't working. And those are just a few things that are on my mind that I would be interested in sort of seeing some reflection on.
Thank you. Other comments? I'm speaking in support of the motion. I think, I can see process improvement in the room as we're presented things and as these projects move forward. And I feel like we've come a long way from everything from budgeting to execution. But I think it would be great to have this sort of those learnings in one sort of captured in one spot. I think would serve us well. So I'm supportive of this, as I feel like a lot of this work has been done. It's just going to be pulling in some of those pieces to put it together for us. And I think it is really important as we go, particularly as we go into budget, that we understand the processes that we're working within that result in numbers in budgets and timelines of project delivery and so on. So I think anything that furthers that understanding is and gives us confidence to tackle those big budget discussions would be beneficial. So I'm happy to support and look forward to those conversations. Seeing no other hands, I call the question. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Now we're looking for a motion to Councillor Hamilton.
Thanks. I have another motion for the floor. So the previous motion, I'll just read the motion if it's seconded. So the motion is that council directs staff to bring back options to improve both short-term and long-term cost forecasting for key projects as part of the 2026 budget process. I'll speak to it if seconded.
Councillor Stoner seconds. Go ahead.
Not cheating. I can email. As we see our projects, there's two primary timescales I see in project budgeting and forecasting. There's the long-term forecasting, which is, let's pick the Laurelwood Bridge. Clearly, we don't have articulate designs. We're not going to be getting numbers to the dollar value, but it seems quite obvious to me. I believe that's still in our 5-year forecast at $20 million. It seems pretty clear to me that that project is going to cost more than $20 million. I would love to be proven wrong, but that seems pretty clear to me. And I think that, and as we leave those, as we have long-term forecasting that have budget, sort of placeholder budget items that are below what the actual realistic costs are going to be, that makes it difficult for us to collect DCCs. It makes it difficult for us to collect ACCs in the future at a sufficient level to deliver on our projects. And the second piece, the short term, is when do we actually make the decision to put shovels in the ground to launch a project? We should have a clear picture of the total cost of the project when we make that decision. I'll pick the Valley Cliff childcare as an example. It may be, we may have made a different decision on that had we known the total cost upfront. But as we go into these projects and have one increase, another small increase, another small increase, we get into difficult situations. So I'm hoping we can find ways. I absolutely recognize it's difficult, but I'm hoping we can find ways to improve those processes so we can make clearer decisions and actually improve our ability to implement the projects that we do want to implement. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments here? Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, I guess when I heard the first motion, I was sort of assuming that it would it implied that the second information would be part of it, sort of part of an online discussion. I understand there's a thought that the time scales for gathering that information might be different, which is why it's split up. I think this is all good information to have. I would, there are possibly some opportunities to learn when we look at the daycare center and so on. We have had a couple fire halls come in on time and on budget. So there are things too that have worked. I don't want to leave an impression that this is driven by everything's not working. No, there are things that have worked. And so, you know, what can we learn from that? And that's sort of why I'm interested to support this and see what all the findings are. So I will support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
I recently took part in a planning course, which devoted half of the course program to the perspective of private developers. Councillor Stoner has mentioned Bill 15, which also addresses private projects, industrial and whatever. I have no problem supporting this motion, but I think that we should take responsibility to consider the perspective of private developments, whether residential developments or industrial projects or other, and their perspective on costs and uncertainties that we are involved in. And I think that for Squamish, this may be a way bigger issue for us to be concerned about. Maybe I stated that too strongly, but let's also consider the perspective of the private sector and their dealings with the municipality with respect to costs and uncertainties and delays. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on this? I think that similar to, and thank you to my colleague, Councillor Pettingill, for highlighting the successes. Like this is about, about exactly that. I think is finding those, celebrating what can we learn from that, and I know that the successes are being studied as much as the more challenging files. I do think as we move to longer term financial planning, I think it is important that we understand those fully the processes that lead to that. So similar to my comments to the first item, I do see these linked, and this might be a bit of a duplication as they're clearly adjacent, if not intertwined. So I'll support the motion for the same reasons. Don't see any other hands. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Now I'll be looking for a yes. Councillor Stoner, can I help you?
I'd like to move a motion to terminate.
I'll second that. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Don't go too far. We're back at 6 o'clock for the regular.